What up? Blaine Major, professional sales and finance manager, fixing to drop a little bit of car knowledge on you. All right, so today at work we're doing what we do, work some car deals, and I thought about my process, what I do when a salesperson hands me the folder, and my guys are very well trained and they know what I expect in the folder, so I'm good to go when I get it. So initially I look at the application, the income. I look at the amount we're trying to finance and see if we're in line there, payment to income. Look at their debt load, look at their revolving available, how many trade lines there are, how long they've been in file. These are all real important things when deciding what bank or institution I'm going to send it to. Most guys, they take everything for face value on the credit application and just shotgun it to 4 or 5 different banks, say a prayer. That's not how you do it, because that's not being a professional. In my first video, I explained to you that you really need to know your bank's programs. You need to utilize your bank reps to learn these programs and know who your buyers are, and know who your funders are. So having said all that, once I look at this application and I start entering the information in, you got to know your bank's triggers, because the goal every time I submit an application, I want system approvals. Okay, I don't want it to get to an underwriter. All right, now understanding that if I push send and I send it to a bank, I am going to automatically pick up and call and rehash that deal. Okay, but you want to get a system approval. And the way to get a higher percentage of system approvals is to structure the deal intelligently, properly, understand each bank where their triggers are. Okay, and that's going to vary from a credit union to a conventional bank, Chase, Wells Fargo, etc. And then subprime's a whole different animal. Usually you won't get a system approval on a subprime deal. But let's just take SunTrust, for example. Talk to the buyer, find out what is that scorecard, okay? Because the computer grades the deal first before it gets to an underwriter. And to streamline things, they want system approvals. But you can't submit a deal, at 155% loan to value and expect that the system's going to pick it up. Okay, so, and it's better to get a system approval, then go back and rehash the deal and put that buyer on the elevator and get more advanced if necessary. So a lot of times what I'll do is, I know I'm at 152, 55% advance. I'll back that deal down to, to 130, 115, depending upon the customer profile. So once I structure the deal, when I'm entering the information in, let's just take the mortgage, for example. A lot of times the customer will put on the application a mortgage $1,000. Well, look at the bureau and see what the mortgage actually is. If it's 968 or if it's 1130, you want to put that number in. Don't put the 1,000. Put what it's showing on the bureau, because a lot of times what will happen is the system will double count it. You'll put $1,000 in and it's 1180. Well, then they're gonna put it against the DTI, adding the two together. Okay, so you want to put what's on the bureau as the mortgage payment. Number two, looking further into it, if the guy's been on his job for 5 months, you want to go down and interview him real fast to say, what was your hire date? Were you doing any training before? Because you want to get that to a 6 month or better. Because again, those little bitty points that they get. Income. If the guy's income, your debt to income, or payment to income is too high, go down and interview the customer real fast and explain to them, that the bank has requirements and minimums. And if you're, making $3,000 a month and you're trying to put this guy on $1,000 payment, and he's got currently, $2,000 going out, that's not going to work. His DTI is too high, his PTI is too high. But he's an 800 credit score. So go down and interview him and say, listen, this is how the bank works. So I'm certain that you have more income. Is there any investment income? Whatever, and get the customer to tell you the additional income that there is. And there's always household income and more. And then just put that in the income line, because the customer has to sign that application. Don't lie to your bank, it's fraud, okay? But you can go down and communicate to your customer and get the information necessary to get the deal done properly with a little quick conversation. And again, I take pride in the fact that I'm sending the bank something they will buy, okay? So once I hit submit, I've done the math. I've looked at the loan to value. I've looked at the payment to income. I've looked at the DTI, all the acronyms. So you got to do the math before you hit send, okay? And you'll play the game, try and get a higher percentage of approvals. Now let's say you're at 150% approval. Don't submit the deal that way. Bring that deal back down to within the bank's guidelines. Okay, you got an A customer. Get the deal bought by the system, then pick up the phone and communicate to the underwriter what changed. More times than not, I'll put the trade payoff less, showing more equity, and then oops, I found out later that the payoff is higher. So in fact, that's why I'm calling you, Mr. Banker, because I need a little bigger advance on this deal. Whereas if you had submitted it at that higher, it might have gotten turned down or conditioned back. And if the system does it, then maybe that buyer won't take the initiative to override the system. So just a couple little tidbits there. When you're dealing with subprime, it's really important to know your banks and what their guidelines are. So you should be able to look at a deal and know I'm going to this bank at this rate at this term equals this payment. More times than not, I'll pencil a deal out before I ever submit it because I know all my bank's programs better than anybody, and I know exactly how that deal is going to fall and how I'm going to get that deal done. And again, because you have the relationship built with your lenders, the buyers, you can get more stuff done that way, believe me. And every time you have a conversation with them, ask them the question, how are we performing? How's my portfolio? What's my look to book? Because you don't want to send a bank, 25 applications and only send them 2 deals. That's not how that works. That's not looking good on your part. So you want to be a professional, structure the deal properly for that bank, and play a game with yourself. That I think I'm gonna go to SunTrust, I'm gonna go to Wells Fargo, I'm gonna go to wherever your local credit union is, and I'm gonna get this rate, this term, because my advance is this, and so forth and so on. And then if it doesn't go down that way, call your buyer and ask them, the questions. Why is it not, and what do you see, and what am I missing? Because a lot of times that's what you'll find is, the mortgage was in there twice, or so that it didn't budget, and these little things come up as soon as you talk to your buyer, and it'll give you some insight into what the little triggers are. Another thing I suggest you do outside of this, actually go to the buying center, go to where that banker is, and go to his office and visit with him and bring him, gifts, donuts, whatever, lunch, and really get inside their head and look at their computer and see what they see on their end. It's absolutely amazing. And once you have that knowledge, again, you're going to perform a lot better at your job. So if you have questions, guys, I want you to email me. I want some communication from you. I want to know what it is exactly that you want to learn. What are you having trouble with? So anyway, that's the lesson for this evening is structure your deal properly prior to sending it to the bank. If you're willing to send it to that bank, be willing to pick up the phone, even if it gets approved. Now I don't suggest you beat your guy up all the time, or let them make some rate. If you got a quick easy deal, let that thing go down. But if you are that professional that sends only stuff that they're going to buy, and you send them a good volume, a good book of business that's performing well, you'll be shocked at what that lender will do for you. So that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you watching.